shining the light on those things that you need to see, right? Acting as if you already are doing those things. You're already processing those things. You're already interpreting those things. You're already changing the things you need to change. You are evolving. You're transforming because you've seen what you need to see and you're acting as if you're already changing those things. So putting that one foot forward and moving onward, right? Moving to your best and highest good, right? It's the why. Why are we here now? Why are we shining this light? Why are we um, doing these things, right? Why are we feeling this way? Why do we feel like we want to tell people things, right? But then we want to talk to people, we want to tell people things, but then we're like kind of standoffish a little bit, right? Because we don't feel like we're there yet. We don't feel like we have enough information. But as I'll get into in a bit, what brings us together is our collective interpretations, right? So stay tuned for that, right? We'll get into that. Hello. So as I was preparing for today, this enter one step forward, one step onward, number 12, a 3, which is the Empress card fell out. And it kind of sparked these energies that I've been feeling lately, right? It says on here, see the full path. Um, you don't need to see the full path. Let's see. You feel upside down and turned around. So there's a lot of energies going on right now where we're seeing some things, where we're not seeing some things. It's kind of clouded. It's not clouded. I've been talking a lot about how we are shining our lights for others, right? We went from the individual to now it's how the individual can influence the collective. We had the sun conjunct Pluto in Aquarius, where the sun illuminates things, right? It shows us what's happening. And Pluto in Aquarius is about change and transformation, right? The next 20 years is about how are we going to get all these things and change them for our best and highest good? How are we going to come to full peace? How are we going to come to full happiness? How are we going to all work together as a collective so that we can come together and be all these things, right? Transcend from the 3D to the 5D, right? And I feel like a lot of people think, what the heck is that 5D stuff? 5D, yes, it's another timeline. It's another timeline. It's another dimension, but it's a dimension of happiness, right? Where all of our energies, our chakras, our feelings, they all converge, right? And we are at our highest, best, and highest good, right? We're moving. We're always moving higher. We're always learning lessons. We're always moving forward. So we want to get to that full happiness, right? We don't like the sadness. We don't like the pain and the hunger that's around and the homelessness and all the things that are happening right now. We want to move forward. So what I wanted to do with this video today was I wanted to reference some videos that I've seen, and videos that were referenced in some of the videos that I have seen. And one of the videos was by Tamara Rose, and I'll put the link in the description box below, and it was titled, What If the Psychics Are Right? Right, I have these notes here that I'm referencing. So in that video, Tamara Rose is talking about the responsibility, the personal responsibility that we have for the energy that's surrounding us, the collective energy. What responsibility is it for us, right? How does the energy affect me? How is what I'm seeing, how is it about you, right? How is it about the others? How are we interpreting this, right? It's the why. Why are we here now? Why are we shining this light? Why are we doing these things, right? Why are we feeling this way? Why do we feel like we want to tell people things, right? But then we want to talk to people, we want to tell people things, but then we're like kind of standoffish a little bit, right? Because we don't feel like we're there yet. We don't feel like we have enough information. But as I'll get into in a bit, what brings us together is our collective interpretations, right? So stay tuned for that, right? We'll get into that. So how these things affect us, how when we take responsibility for these energies, how is it that we're wanting to share our light, or that we should be sharing our light, right? I've been talking about this in my readings already, that there's a light that I want to share with you. There's knowledge and experience that I want to share with you, and there's knowledge and experience I want you to share with me, right? That's why I listen to other people. That's why they come across my feed. I believe there's no such thing as coincidences, right? Things happen for a reason, and although that sounds kind of easy to say, that brings me to the next individual that I wanted to highlight, and her name is Erica, and her page is called In the Company of Cards. And in her video, which is linked in the description box below, she talks about how when authors write, they're writing an interpretation of a story, right, of the subject. And when we read those words and when we read that book, then we put our interpretation on it, and then it becomes our words. So every time somebody reads that, it's their interpretation of those words. And that's how we work as a collective. We fill in the gaps, right? We become that puzzle piece that's missing. We connect those dots that we need connected to go from one thing to the next. And when we have a desire to share our light and share our knowledge, sometimes fear comes into the question, or comes to question, right? Comes to our mind, and it's like, but am I enlightened enough? Am I smart enough? Am I intuitive enough? Am I gifted enough? You know, and yes, you are. Everyone has intellect. Everyone has enlightenment. Everyone has intuition. Everyone has the knowledge and the ability to connect those dots. We're all here to help each other out. This world isn't about being an individual. It's about being here as a collective, as a whole, right? We help each other out. And that's what all this is right now. And I think it's just so much for everybody right now that it's kind of confusing. So what we need to do is we kind of need to slow down a little bit, right? I just had a reading about slowing down, taking your time, sitting back and processing those things, right? Process what's going on in your mind, and then how we get through those things, how we process it, how we overcome those things. That's what you need to share. That's what you need to share with other people. That's what I need to know. How did you process that? So then I can then process that. I may or may not do exactly what you're doing or what you did, but what you did can help me do what I need to do to get me through that process. Does that make sense? So connecting these dots, connecting these interpretations, connecting these gaps that we all need, that's the aha moment, right? That's what we need to fill in those gaps, to answer the questions that we have. Why am I feeling this way? Why does this keep happening? And then you listen to somebody and they interpret something a certain way, and then you're like, oh, that's how, or that's why, right? And then you take that into account and you use it in your own life so that you can process your own things, right? And the third video that I wanted to reference was the YouTube channel is called Ask the Spirit Guides, and that's Karen. And she was talking about how she was listening to Tomorrow Rose's video and how that connected the dots that she needed to connect to understand that we need to trust our intuition. Even if that intuition or those messages that are coming in seem to be counterintuitive to what's going on, trust it. It's happening for a reason, right? We need to be open to those reasons. We need to be open to those interpretations and add that interpretation to our own knowledge and experience, which then adds to the collective puzzle where the pieces were missing, or the collective connection, or the collective interpretation, or the collective processing of all those energies, right? Sharing our light helps each other sharing our light helps each other get those connections, get those dots connected, get those puzzle pieces fitted together so that we can figure out what it is that we're dealing with right now. If you're not trusting your intuition and you're not trusting the interpretations of all those other interpretations that you're reading or listening to, all melted together, positive or negative, then you're going to be taking a step backwards. But in taking that step backwards, it's going to allow you that aha moment, right? It's going to say, okay, I'm taking this step backwards because I'm not setting my boundaries, or I'm repeating the same patterns over and over again. And when somebody shares their interpretation or their process, then you can see how this is how they set their boundaries, and maybe I can use something like that to help me, or this is how they are choosing not to follow those same patterns. You're learning to set the boundaries. You're learning to be mindful. You're learning to pay attention to what it is you need to pay attention to in order to get through those processes, right? In order to move to your best and highest self. So when those processes come to mind, when we see those things that we lack, or those things that we need to work on, then the amazing thing about this is that we figure out how to do this for ourselves. And so we take that interpretation or those interpretations from others, we interpret it ourselves, we process it, and then we share it, shine our light with others so that others can do the same thing, and then they can learn how to process. They can learn how to fill those gaps and fit those puzzle pieces together and move forward in their processes, right? Does that make sense? So all this learning and interpreting and melding and sharing is all about growth. It's all about our personal growth. It's all about sharing your light with others. It's all about interpreting the light that others are sharing with us. And it's all about melding all those things together so that we can move forward and so that we can grow and get to our best and highest self. So we can go from that 3D to the 5D. So we can learn from not setting those boundaries. So that we can learn about not following the same patterns. So we can learn about being more compassionate, about self-care, right? About putting ourselves first, about knowing that being selfless, which is putting us first, or at least on the same level as everybody else, is not selfish. It's about filling our own cup of love, right? So one step onward, one step forward is one step onward, right? You take a little step forward, you're moving on, right? You're learning new things are opening up in front of you, right? So I want to do a little reading. I want to get some cards. What is the energy, spirit, you want to share? Wow, my hand's acting up today. So let's shuffle this way. Can you share a card with us, please, spirit? Okay, that's a lot of cards. But there's a lot of things going on, right, that spirit wants to tell us. What is it that you really want us to focus on right now? Okay, there we go. So we have chameleon spirit, act as if. So to me, that's saying act as if you already know. You're hearing those interpretations, right? You're seeing how other people are processing things. You are seeing how maybe other people are taking care of themselves. So act as if you're doing it too. What would it look like for you? Sit down, ground yourself, and say, okay, what would it look like if I was the person that I'm giving my advice to? What would I say to myself? What would I tell them? And then do those things for yourself. Okay. Okay, spirit. What other guidance do you have for the collective? Okay. The sun, right? Shining the light. Shining the light on those things that you need to see, right? Acting as if you already are doing those things. You're already processing those things. You're already interpreting those things. You're already changing the things you need to change. You are evolving. You're transforming because you've seen what you need to see and you're acting as if you're already changing those things. So putting that one foot forward and moving onward, right? Moving to your best and highest good, right? Let's pull a couple of tarot cards without clarification. Just get a little bit of energy of what's going on here. How are you showing up? The Nine of Pentacles. You're wanting to gain confidence. You're wanting to be confident. You're wanting to move forward and go from that step from here to there, right? What's your challenge? Is the Eight of Pentacles. Is that it's a lot of work, right? There's a lot of work that you need to do. You need to see those things. You need to act as if, but you can do this, right? You can put all those things in front of you and see that and use those interpretations and share those interpretations. And as a collective, we can work together to make these things possible, right? Your recent past is the Emperor. You took action, right? You wanted to move forward. You're taking a leadership role. You're being decisive. You're being the entrepreneur, right? You're wanting new things. Your near future is the world, right? It's closing this chapter of going from, I just heard not knowing, right? Or confusion, or I just heard disillusionment, right? You're wanting to see the light. But in order to see that light, you also need to share that light, because when you share it, you put it out into the universe and others bring it back to you, right? They'll respond to you. They'll say, okay, I hear what you're saying, but this is what I'm hearing. And then you'll be like, oh, okay, now I see it your way. Taking things in a different perspective than your own, because you're learning from somebody else. And what's your overall energy? Is the Three of Cups, right? Is that collective, is sharing your knowledge with that collective and bringing in all that advice that you're getting, all those interpretations, all that melding of information so that you can fill your puzzle. Fill your puzzle. So you can complete your puzzle, so you can fill in the gaps that you need, and so you can process, and then you can learn from others. Wow. This is just something that came to me today. I hope you enjoyed it. I enjoyed it. Thank you for joining me. If you're new to my channel, welcome. And if you're not subscribed to my channel, please do so. If you know somebody who needs to hear this message, please share it with them. And don't forget, I will have in the description box below the links for those other videos that you can listen to as well, so you can see what messages I got from it, and maybe there's more messages that you can get from it, and then you can share it with the collective, right? And if you'd like to help out with my channel, you can buy me a coffee. There's a link right over there. Um, you can take a picture of it, or you can go in the description box below to buy me a coffee and share and help support my channel. That would be appreciated. And until then, keep sharing your light, right? Keep knowing that you are part of the solution. What you are as an individual is what's good for all of us as a collective. And until next time.